Positivism and Empiricism in Sociology. Positivism is one of the two methodological approaches recognized by many textbooks on social research, the other being interprementism. Positivism is said to be the methodological groundwork of survey research and experimental approach, though in describing it thus there is a blend between scientific approach to social research in general and the particular position of positivism. There have been several versions of positivism, and though all favor a scientific approach to investigation, they are not synonymous with science, and indeed, in the natural sciences, positivism disappeared as an important methodological position many decades ago. Phillips, 1987. Nevertheless, it was via the positivist movement that social science became science and was the form in which scientific method entered the study of the social world. Positivism. Some sociologists have tried to adopt the methods of the natural sciences. In doing so, they have tended to advocate the use of quantitative methods. To use such methods in sociology is known as positivism. First, as a positivist, Comte believed that the scientific study of society should be confined to collecting information about phenomena that can be objectively observed and classified. Comte argued sociologists should not be concerned with the internal meanings, motives, feelings, and emotions of individuals. Since these mental states exist only in the person's consciousness, they cannot be observed and so they cannot be measured in any objective way. The second aspect of positivism concerns its use of statistical data. Positivists believed it was possible to classify the social world in an objective way. Using these classifications, it was then possible to count sets of observable social facts and so produce statistics. For example, Durkheim collected data on social facts such as the suicide rate and the membership of different religions. The third stage of positivist methodology involves looking for connection between different social facts. A connection is a tendency for two or more things to be found together, and it may refer to the strength of the relationship between them. In his study of suicide, Durkheim found an apparent connection between a particular region, Protestantism, and a high suicide rate. The fourth stage of positivist methodology involves a search for causal connection. If there is a strong connection between two or more types of social phenomena, then a positivist sociologist might suspect that one of these phenomena was causing the other to take place. However, this is not necessarily the case that it is important to analyze the data carefully before any such conclusion can be reached. The example of class and criminality can be used to illustrate this point. Many sociologists have noted a correlation between being working class and a relatively high chance of being convicted of a crime. Positivists believe that multivariate analysis can establish causal connections between two or more variables. If these findings are checked in a variety of contexts, then the researchers can be confident that they have attained the ultimate goal of positivism, a law of human behavior. Durkheim claimed to have discovered laws of human behavior that governed the suicide rate. According to Durkheim, the suicide rate always rose during an economic boom or slump. Positivists and Durkheim then believe that laws of human behavior can be discovered by the collective of objective facts about the social world in a statistical form, by the careful analysis of these facts, and by repeated checking of findings in a series of contexts. From this point of view, humans have little or no choice about how they behave. Durkheim conceived of sociology as the scientific study of a reality, sui generis, a clearly defined group of phenomena different from those studied by all other sciences, biology and psychology included. It was for these phenomena that Durkheim reserved the term social facts, that is, a category of facts which present very special characteristics. They consist of manners of acting, thinking, and feeling external to the individual, which are invested with a coercive power by virtue of which they exercise control over him. Since these facts consisted of actions, thoughts, and feelings, they could not be confused with biological phenomena, but neither were they the province of psychology, for they existed outside the individual conscience. It was to define the proper method for this study that Durkheim wrote The Rules of Sociological Method in 1895. His work on suicide, of which the discussion and analysis of anomie forms a part, must be read in this light. Once he discovered that certain types of suicide could be accounted for, he could then use suicide as an index for the otherwise immeasurable degree of social integration. Durkheim distinguished between types of suicide according to the relation of the actor to his society. When the restraints of structural integration, as demonstrated in the operation of organic solidarity, fail to operate, men become prone to egoistic suicide. When the collective conscience weakens, men fall victim to anomic suicide. Positivism versus Phenomenology. The positivist versus the phenomenological approach to the study of man and society is considered in terms of the major debates in social science research. Many of the founding fathers of sociology believed that it would be possible to create a science of society based on the same principles and procedures as natural sciences such as chemistry and biology. This approach is known as positivism. They believed that this would reveal that the evolution of society followed invariable laws, and that it would show that the behavior of man was governed by principles of cause and effect which were just as invariable as the behavior of matter, the subject of the natural sciences. The behavior of man, like the behavior of matter, can be objectively measured, just as the behavior of matter can be quantified by measures such as weight, temperature, and pressure. Methods of objective measurement can be devised for human behavior. Such measurement is essential to explain behavior. For example, in order to explain the reaction of a particular chemical to heat, it is necessary to provide exact measurement of temperature, weight, and so on. With such measurement, it will be possible to accurately observe the behavior of matter and produce a statement of cause and effect. From a positivist viewpoint, such methods and assumptions are applicable to human behavior. Observations of behavior based on objective measurement from this viewpoint will make it possible to produce statements of cause and effect. Theories may then be devised to explain observed behavior. It argues that factors which are not directly observable, such as meanings, feelings, and purposes, are not particularly important and can be misleading. For example, if the majority of adult members of society enter into marriage and produce children, these facts can be observed and quantified. They therefore form reliable data. However, the range of meanings that members of society give to these activities, their purposes for marriage and procreation, are not directly observable. Even if they could be accurately measured, they may well divert attention from the real cause of behavior. The meanings and purposes they attach to this behavior are largely insignificant. Phenomenological perspectives in social research reject many of the assumptions of positivism. They argue that the subject matter of social and natural sciences is fundamentally different. As a result, methods and assumptions of the natural sciences are inappropriate to the study of man. The natural sciences deal with the matter. As a result, the natural scientist is able to observe, measure, and impose an external logic on that behavior in order to explain it. He or she has no need to explore the internal logic of the consciousness of matter simply because it does not exist. Unlike matter, a human being has consciousness, thoughts, feelings, meanings, intentions, and an awareness of being. Because of this, his or her actions are meaningful. He or she defines situations and gives meaning to his or her actions and those of others. As a result, he or she does not merely react to external stimuli, nor does he or she simply behave, he or she acts. Imagining the response of early man to fire caused by volcanoes or spontaneous combustion, we can see that he did not react in a uniform manner to the experience of heat. He attached a range of meanings to it, and these meanings directed his actions. For example, he defined fire as a means of warmth and used it to heat his dwellings, as a means of defense and used it to ward off wild animals, and as a means of transforming substances and employed it for cooking and hardening points of wooden spears. Man does not just react to fire, he acts upon the terms of the meanings he gives to it. The researcher cannot simply observe action from the outside and impose an external logic upon it. He must interpret the internal logic which directs the actions of the actor. The distinction between positivist and phenomenological approaches is not as clear cut as this section has implied. There is considerable debate over whether or not a particular theory should be labeled positivist or phenomenological. Often it is a matter of degree, since many theories lie somewhere between the two extremes. What is empiricism? An empiricist is one who practices empiricism, that is, the system which, rejecting all prior knowledge, rests solely on experience and induction. To Bacon goes the honor of being the first martyr of empiricism. Bacon, 1561 to 1626, one of the modern scientific thinkers, is known for his emphasis on initiation, the use of direct observation to confirm ideas, and the linking together of observed facts to form theories or explanations of how natural phenomena work. Social life is visibly chaotic. Its basic character is flow and flux. Its concrete ingredients are people. The substance of our observation is events, each of them unique, just as each human being is unique. As strict empiricists, we must face the truth that we work with apparent disorder, non-replicable people, and non-repetitive events. The social scientist working in any social society is well aware of this, and his or her model of society and of social action is probabilistic. The confusion is worse for the alien observer than for the resident actor. The latter has been socialized to his or her setting, and part of his or her socialization is the impression of a model of order. The actor is looking at the same chaos as the observer, but she or he thinks that she or he is seeking something else. The newly arrived social researcher, on the other hand, sees randomness, but he assumes that of his ignorance of the system and the insufficiency of his observations. To the extent that we treat actors' conduct and the like as entities, we depart from pure observer-oriented empiricism. Empirical enquiry. Empirical scientific research is essentially a way of looking at things. It can be thought of a method of approaching to the empirical world. Science consists of theory and facts. A fact is an empirically verifiable observation, and a theory tries to find relationship between facts. The facts of science are the product of observations. Theory construction is the most important objective of empirical scientific inquiries. Theory usually gives orientation of empirical inquiries. Theory guides the collection of relevant data and offers a conceptual scheme to bind them together in a more systematic manner. Theories represent an improvement in our knowledge. They also help us to predict facts. In a way, facts help to initiate theories and to test the validity of existing theories. They clarify and redefine theory. Theories and facts stimulate each other and contribute to the growth of empirical knowledge. Empirical studies include the whole gamut of research tools: observation, both participant and non-participant; formal interviews with random samples; semi-structured and unstructured and in-depth interviewing; key informant testimonies; analysis of personal and institutional documents; mass media analysis; archive searching; examination of official statistics; and reviews of published literatures. Furthermore, empirical social research also uses a wide variety of analytical techniques: ethnographic interpretation, historical reconstruction, action research, multivariate analysis, structuralist deconstruction, and semiological analysis. Empirical research process. Empirical research involves the pursuit of truth as determined by facts and logical considerations. It is aimed at a systematic interrelation of facts by experimentation, observation, and logical procedures. It encourages a rigorous impersonal procedure dictated by the demand of logic and objective procedure. It is method wherein the investigation proceeds in a systematic and orderly manner. Empirical research usually consists of the following steps: collecting data by means of careful and critical observations with patience, precision and impartiality, measurement, classification and tabulation of data, analysis and reduction, formulation of hypothesis, and formulation of a theory or a law. The following are the main features of empirical scientific research: observation, use of concepts, objectivity, verifiability, predictability, systematic nature. Observation. Empirical research relies on observation for obtaining knowledge. In a sense, the keystone of any inquiry is observation. Observation supplies us with something which we then try to understand and explain. But empirical observation is not casual. It is conscious and deliberate activity designed to reduce error. It is aided by certain devices which enhances accuracy. These devices usually add great precision to scientific observations which cannot be observed by our sense organs. Empirical observation is most fruitful when it is guided by a hunch or a general idea as to what is to be observed. Otherwise, there is a possibility that the empiricist is lost in a welter of facts which he may not know what to do with. Meaningful observations result in the establishments of facts. Collection of facts through observation is not only important for verifying empirical theories, but also for building them, modifying or improving them. Concepts. Concepts are the building blocks of scientific empirical research. Scientific theories usually consist of several interrelated concepts. Concepts are fundamental to all human communication and thought. But the concepts that we use in our day-to-day affairs are not always clear and precise. In some cases, not all would use a word in the same sense. On the other hand, different words may be used to convey a similar meaning. Empirical research requires that the concepts used are defined with precision. Precision in defining concepts usually fosters clear thinking on the part of empiricist himself or herself. At the same time, precise definitions convey to others what exactly is meant by the empiricist when he or she uses the concept. Lack of clarity may lead to statements which seem to provide explanations when in fact they do not. Objectivity. Objectivity means that the conclusions we reach in empirical research are not affected by our personal views or values. It also means that similar or same conclusions can be reached by any person who repeats the same set of observations. It permits the repetition of observations under practically identical conditions. This facilitates the verification of facts and theories by many empiricists independently. Verifiability. Any finding is said to be empirical only if it can be verified. If a theory involves things which cannot be verified, the theory tends to be metaphysical rather than scientific. The empirical conclusions are liable for verification at any time. Thus, an empirical scientific theory of generalization stands to be rejected at any time. Future observations, new findings in other disciplines may render old theories untenable. This is one of the reasons why scientific conclusions are never final, but are continuously tentative and provisional. Predictability. Empirical researchers are interested in prediction. Precise predictions constitute one of the most impressive achievements of the empirical researchers. Predictability usually depends upon two things: the nature of the phenomena themselves and our knowledge of the causes of the phenomena. If the number of causes is more, prediction becomes more and more difficult. Prediction depends to a large extent on our ability to arrive at precise theories. Precision in prediction also depends upon accurate measurement. All predictions are fundamentally uncertain. We can say that social science predictions as well as predictions in physical sciences tend to be probabilistic. However, it is true that predictions in social sciences usually have a lower probability of success than those in physical sciences. Systematic nature. Empirical investigation is systematic in many ways. It is thorough and rigorous, as it makes use of designs to guard against errors which may creep in at the time of collection of data as well as at the time of interpretation and drawing generalizations from the data. Empirical investigation encourages a systematic report on the methods used to collect data, the hypothesis formulated, the techniques used for analysis, and the logic used for making generalizations. Because of this, the empiricist himself or herself or his or her colleagues have an opportunity of finding flaws that may enter at any stage of investigation. It is in this sense that empirical investigation is self-correcting. Empirical investigation is systematic in another sense also. It aims at arriving at a set of propositions that are consistent with one another and not self-contradictory. It is the systematic nature of empirical investigations that distinguishes the scientific attitude and temperament from other non-scientific attitudes and temperaments. Sometimes people may reach the right conclusions, but that does not make the statement scientific unless they follow from the right premises. It is the overall procedure followed that sets the empirical scientific investigations and conclusions apart from others. Positivism is a doctrine within the social sciences which is characterized by the view that social phenomena should be studied in a scientific manner in the same way as the natural sciences. Its general aims are to build general laws which demonstrate relationships between social phenomena, to reveal by observation and experiment those social phenomena which do or do not fit a particular hypothesis, to use quantifiable and measurable data to construct explanations which examine the impact of social structures upon human behavior. Such explanations are therefore distinct from those which refer to human intentions and motives. To apply scientific principles of research to the study of society with the aim of constructing proposals for social change, thus leading to a better society. Positivism as a term was introduced into the social sciences by Auguste Comte, 1798 to 1857, who held that sociology should be scientific. Thus, it should deal only with hypotheses which were directly verifiable. An example of the use of positivist methodology is Emile Durkheim's 1897 study Suicide. Within this study, Durkheim discovered social structural explanations for suicide, an act which is generally perceived as particularly individualized. He found that the level of social integration of an individual into society was a crucial factor in the prevention of suicide. Therefore, he argued that those individuals who, for one reason or another, are socially excluded from society are more likely to commit suicide. However, positivism has attracted a number of criticism. The quest to promote a better society via the construction of proposals for social change takes no account of moral options which social change necessarily entails. Scientific truths are often ideologically tainted. Thus, science itself is not as objective as it claims to be. The quest to develop universal laws has not been realized. Positivism is not an appropriate method for studying society since humans have free will. Therefore, their behavior cannot always be explained by reference to conformity to a particular social law.